Hi everyone. This week we are on our second week of our little gardening coaching workshop. This one, number 2, is called Prepare Your Soil or Work with What You've Got. And so in the analogy of the garden, we would be digging up and getting our soil ready before we could plant any seeds. And maybe still getting rid of some more of that dead wood that we were working on last week as well. So in order to do that, we have to realize that we are worth this. That if you've engaged yourself in doing this and working on yourself, it is important and you are important. And just like your garden is important and you focus on it, okay, let's focus on us. Because when our needs and our standards and our values are addressed, then we have so much more to give everyone else. And especially if you happen to be a mom, because I was one and am one, you really tend to give yourself out to everybody around you, and that's good, but then you need to have something that helps you do that. And so that's kind of what we're working on today. We're going to start with getting your needs met. So what is a need? So a need is something that you have to have no matter what. And probably it's easiest to think of it in terms of other people that you know. So the person that is constantly having to be the clown at your party, what do they really need? And they're maybe not getting it in an appropriate manner. They probably need attention. This is fine. And it's a matter of acknowledging what are our needs. And some of them happen because of what our life experiences have been or something that's happened in our past. Maybe we weren't, for one of mine is to be heard. So I ended up teaching school and I was heard. I ended up being a Toastmaster and I was heard. And now I'm talking to you again. And I'm getting heard because when I was little, I used to talk all the time, to the point that my parents sat at the dinner table and went like this, and then they all excused themselves, and I excused myself to the teapot. So I need to be heard. That's a need I have. I acknowledge it. It's fine. You just go and find a way of getting it met. You may have a need to be loved, and you can, what you do is you gather people you know into your network, and you say, I have a need to be loved. Can you, every time I phone you, say one loving thing to me? It's amazing how your good friends and your close family are willing to jump in and do that. And you're also teaching them how to do it just by modeling. And these kinds of getting your needs met, get rid of some of your dead wood, and also help you start to realize that the soil that's you is actually really important. And so the top 10 steps to getting your needs met are: identify your top personal needs using, guess what, another coaching program, the Need Less program. So again, you can go through that. It's just like the clean sweep in the way that it works, except you're looking at what do you need. You ask for special people to fully meet one of those needs for you. So if it's to be loved, you get 4 people to tell you how much they love you. Sometimes you do it once and you're done. That's enough. You don't need this to keep going on and on and on. Other times, depending on who you are, you need to keep doing it and have somebody feeding you the things that you need. So really, you're going to train, manage, and coach your 4 favorite people to help you meet the one need that you want to do until you get it working. So what you do is you set up an automatic sprinkler system. And so that's kind of what I was telling you about the phone calls. You know, you set up with them something so that they automatically do the same thing every time you talk to them. Or you meet somebody and you ask someone to always give you a hug once we're past COVID. Or things like that. So you build in some kind of a self-sustaining automatic sprinkler system, which you could call SAS if you want. And the idea is now it's not up to you to keep trying to go out there and get your needs met, maybe inappropriately, maybe not even realizing you're doing it. You've put it on someone else. What a freeing thing. You're done and you're getting your needs met. So you need to get that the people who love you will meet your needs if you ask. And you can ask people that you really trust to tell you what they think your needs are. So that's another thing. You know, somebody who always interrupts, why are they doing that? They have a need. You have to figure out what the need is, right? So it's really easy for us to see other people's needs, a little harder to address our own. And so that's why this Need Less program here is a nice tool. And again, you know, if you end up thinking, oh my goodness, I'm a needy person, think again. You're addressing your needs, you're focusing on yourself, you're preparing your soil, and it's all good. Everyone has needs, and you can actually get them met, and then you can move on. So that is the needs section. The next thing is raising your standards. So to raise your standards, you kind of have to know how you have chosen to behave. Those are your standards. And you might think, okay, these are the standards I should have. I should be honest all the time. Well, now you're shoulding yourself. Let me tell you right now, should is not a good word. Should, you may have heard your parents tell you, you should do this. How did you feel? And you're probably running shoulds in your own head all the time, because we all do it. But if you start telling yourself that shoulds are not very helpful to your life, you'll do it less. And instead, you're going to say things like, I am an honest person, not I should be an honest person. Or I am an honest person in situations where it's really important. Because everybody's standards are really relative to them. They're not relative to what we think society thinks we should be. They are actually what we think are our standards. And once you kind of have some standards set, think about how could I raise that? So say my standard was, I'm honest at work. I could then go, I'm going to raise that now. I'm going to be honest every time I'm dealing with anybody. So that's a big jump. You might make several steps before you get to that one. So it's like a game, though. If you know what your standards are, maybe integrity is a standard for you, then you can double it. And you can say, how would I double it? What would I have to do? And that might be one of the seeds you're going to plant later, is raising your standards. But at least being aware of what your standards are and what matter, and not shoulding yourself, are the important things of that. So once you've done that, the last thing is reorient around your values. And guess what? There's another coaching program, the Tru Values program. So yes, these are a lot of checklists. If you're not into checklists, just read it over and see what resonates for you. Nobody is going to give you a mark in this. My teaching career is over. So it's just for you. It's just what you get out of it. So if you don't like doing checklists, just read over the information and see if there's something in there that you'd like to work on. Values are an interesting thing. Values are not, I value my faith, or I value my health. They're more things that are natural to us. So where needs are things that came about because of our past and we're grasping for something, values are what's part of who we are. So did you always climb on fences when you were 5 years old, even though people said you shouldn't do that because it was fun? Then you probably value adventure. Okay? If you, well, when I was a kid, I used to go off bird watching, and I would pack sandwiches into a bag and head off into the ravine in Edmonton and look for birds and draw them and write down what I thought and all this kinds of stuff. So that might mean that I value the outdoors. Okay? So the most important thing about values is that they are part of you and have been part of you forever. So this Tru Values program gives you a whole list of values. You circle about 10 of them, and then you narrow it down to 4 or 5 that really speak to who you are. And so for me, after I did that, I posted those values on bookmarks, and I posted them in my bullet journal that we're going to talk about later on, and I posted them on calendars. And so whenever I decided whether I was going to do some new thing that somebody asked me to do, because one of my problems is I say yes to everything unless I set a boundary, was I looked, okay, which of my 5 values does this actually work with? Doesn't work with any? Sorry, I'm not available. So at least the things you choose to do are going to be things that matter to you. And so when we're setting those goals and planting those seeds a little bit later on, if we already know what our 4 or 5 key values are, anything we choose to do that we want to carry through with should match those values. And so this is what happens to people who make resolutions at New Year's. They make shoulds. They go, I should lose weight. I should exercise more. I should paint my house. But if those don't resonate with who you are since you were 3 years old, then you're not going to do it. But if you're thinking in terms of this is going to help me with something that really works for me, like, okay, maybe I want to try out a new cooking method. Okay, one of my values is creativity. So how can I make my new cooking method creative? Then I'm going to do it, because now it's meshed into my values. So those are the things that we're looking at here for preparing the soil. And the next week is going to be planning your garden and what to grow. So in that case, we're going to actually be choosing our goals. So I would encourage you to go through some of these materials. They're going to be available to you. You can pick them up at the library and see what comes up for you. Maybe jot down some ideas of some of the seeds you may want to plant next week. And in the meantime, get some of your needs met and orient around your values.